right, guys. Super happy to be here. Happy New Year. And I hope you guys had a great break, great Christmas, and Happy New Year break. So I am super excited to be here today. And guess who is the guest? My first guest is Sadie Lawrence on the Ravit Show today. Sadie is the founder and CEO of Women in Data, the number one community for women in AI and tech. Women in Data is a community of over 20,000 individuals and has representation in 17 countries and 50 cities, which is fantastic, right? Sadie has trained over like 350,000 people in data science and is the course developer for the machine learning certification for UC Davis. Her work has been featured in USA Today, Diversity, and she is the recipient of the Outstanding Service Award, 10 Most Admired Women to watch in 2021, and has been listed the top 21 influencer in data. In addition, she serves on multiple startup boards and is the host of Data Byte podcast. Today, we will be discussing about her journey, diversity in data, future of education, technology advancements that change the way we work, and much more. So feel free to have your questions. Also, let us know where you're joining from. I can already see a lot of people joining in. All right, Venkata is here. Kamal is here. Thank you. Hey, George. Happy New Year. George is here. Don't forget to follow George. He's the guy on Lights on Data who puts lights on data. So yes. Also, quick announcement before we call in Sadie, that we are giving away one annual subscription of 365 Data Science today. What you need to do is just type in this, which is hashtag 365 Data Science in the chat, and we will be announcing the winners towards the end of the show. So this will actually pick up the winners, and we'll do a raffle by end of the show. So let's not make our guest wait anymore, and let's bring Sadie. Hey, Sadie, welcome to the Ravit Show.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Thanks so much for having me. It's such a great way to be kicking off the new year with this conversation with you.
Same here, Sadie. It's I've always seen you supporting women in data. You've done so much for the community. Not only I was just telling folks about you being, obviously women in data being present in more than 17 countries and 50 cities. So we can't wait to obviously explore about your journey, about your company, and much more. But before that, for our audience, we would love to know more about you. So can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, well, you did such a wonderful job with your introduction. Not to go on too much about myself, but yes, I started my journey into data science in 2014. After transitioning from piano performance and neuroscience, I finally found what stuck for me, which was data science, and was so happy I did because I've enjoyed this industry so much because any function in business has data. And so really whatever area you're passionate about, you have the opportunity to apply those skills and study a subject that really interests you. And so I was so excited to find this area because it allowed me to follow my passion, but add on these new technical skills. And the community is just really amazing in this space. And, as you yourself probably know, leading a community and myself with women in data, it's really the people in this space that make it so exciting and engaging. And I'm excited to see what the future holds for this industry and the success of these communities as they continue to grow.
Wow, this is super exciting, and definitely you've already made a mark there, and a very big mark, at least for the women in data, and you've encouraged them continuously. I've seen you talking so much around it. You've had so many people associated with women in data, which makes it so powerful. So, like Shruti says, so excited to learn more about women in data. So am I, Shruti, exactly. So to start with, obviously, we would want to know, I'm sure the audience also has this question, that what was the driving factor that made you start Women in Data?
Yeah, so I really loved the saying that necessity is the mother, and that's how Women in Data started. It really was just from my own personal need of needing a community, but
Right.
also having a vision for more equality in the space. So In 2014, I was getting my master's in data science and was feeling a bit lonely from not having many people like me within the field to collaborate, but also knew that the potential of this field, that we needed to have more representation in this space. And so I started by launching just a first event in my local city. Um,
Oh,
we came from very humble back in the day, right, when we used to all meet in person, and that was how we connected. So it was a real event. And there was only one person that showed up to that first event. And
oh,
thankfully, they brought, two people with them. But it really just takes one person standing up and one other person saying, hey, I'm down to support and to follow. And today now that little spark has grown into 20,000 people and is continuing to
wow.
grow. So it's just so exciting to see that when you reach out and say, hey, I see a need, I see an opportunity, I want to create community, I want more equality in this space, people will stand up and support and really come along and to thrive.
Yeah, exactly. I think that is first thing. It takes a lot of courage when you started. You just had like one person bringing another and starting that off, and still now it's sitting at like 20,000 folks, which is super cool. And I can see, women in data being mentioned everywhere. It's like, I think it's not only a community that you've built, but you've actually come up with a moment where, okay, you need to have women in data, how. And I'm sure we'll be talking more around how diversity is actually making that difference in the industry as well. Why is it important to have that diversity? So can't wait. Just a few comments coming in from a few folks here. George says that's a huge accomplishment. I agree. And Shruti says community can make a great difference and create such a great impact in our career. Very true. Petri says, well done, Sadie. So
Yeah, I love the comment of community can make such a difference because in women in data, we really like to say community equals courage, right? And it's
true.
so amazing that when you have somebody standing alongside you on your career journey, just how much more courage you have and that you can take those risks. And we all hear about all the time, like in business and in your career, you need to take risks, but that can be scary. So taking a risk is a lot better when you have a community supporting you for every step of that journey.
Very true. And also, Petri has a question for you. Sadie, are you connected with Women in Tech? I'm sure you might be connected.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, there's a lot of fantastic organizations to support diversity in different areas of technology, and I think it's fantastic because there's so much opportunity in this space. The more we can all work on this problem and collaborate, there is plenty to go around for everyone. So
Very true. So, Petri, you got it. Okay. And also, I had a question around the folks that you have taught, because the number seems to be like super huge. So, how does it feel to train more than like 350,000 students? What were the common challenges they face, and how did you come up with a solution? I want to know more about it, the whole story.
yeah, I every time I see that number, I am so surprised and kind of blown away by it as well. And for me, it's just really inspiring to think that that many people, one, are interested in data science, are taking the initiative to go learn and develop their skills. Like to me, when I see that number, I'm
True.
more inspired by the students because they're the ones who are putting all the hard work in to watch the lectures and take the assignments and to get those skills that they need for the future. You know,
Exactly.
there were a couple challenges along the way, but I was very lucky to have a great team of mentors who supported the class and really helped to answer students' questions. And I think the success of the program just goes into the collaboration of the mentors on the platform in Coursera and each other helping one another. So I I look at teaching as a great way to learn. Like when I teach someone something, I'm also learning myself. And so it's
Very
something I
true.
just encourage in everything that I teach is, hey, if I share some knowledge with you, now go turn around and help somebody else with it. And I think that is why it's been so successful. It's a really like you learn and then you teach. And so it's a cyclical model that allows so many more people to come into the space.
Wow, this is amazing because it's like a human learning chain actually that that you are creating. It's like learn, impart knowledge, and you would actually tell them to make others learn. You would tell them to teach others as well. So it is a fantastic chain, I would say. Also, Ayush Singh is here, and I'm just trying to pick his comment here that says big shout out to SQL for data science community. So that's
Yes,
amazing.
nice to see you, Ayush. Ayush is one of the mentors in the SQL for Data Science class. So,
Wow.
like I mentioned, he's one of the people we should give most of the credit to for the success of this program.
Fantastic. Great work, Ayush. It's amazing to have people like you in the community. So thank you. And a quick question that I would definitely love to pick from George. So, what's the secret behind building a great community? Wow.
Yeah, so I really think it starts with a clear mission and vision, right? So when you're building a community, there's going to be so many fantastic ideas that people are bringing
True.
in, and you really want to make sure you're able to find a way for all people to thrive and succeed. But within that, you need a framework. And so when you're building a community, having a vision for what that community looks like, knowing your mission, understanding what are the values of the community, those are going to be essential in terms of how do you moderate the community, how do you let people know who you are and communicate who you are. And so I would really start there with like, what is your vision? And I'm a big fan of drawing things out, taking quiet time to just sit and imagine it. And I think if you really have a clear picture in your mind and write that out and communicate it, people will be attracted to that vision. And it may start with one person, it may start with hundreds of people, but either way, you will attract the people who share the mission and vision that you share.
Yeah, that's 100%. I agree with that. And also, a quick question. Actually, I would want to ask a follow-up question to George's. So, have you ever faced any of what were the common challenges that you faced while building the community? Like you said, when you started up with the first meetup, it was just like two or three people showed up. So, how did you scale up to a level where you are today?
Yeah, so the biggest thing you're going to need is to have persistence and patience and
Yeah,
consistency. So, I don't know if there's any people who are into crypto or Bitcoin, but in that community they talk a lot about like winter, and the winter is coming, right? There's going to be, and what they mean is there's highs and then there's lows, right? But you have to hang on for both of those. And there really are highs and lows within a community, but
true.
if you want to see it succeed, consistency is the biggest factor, And after the first meeting, yeah, we came from humble beginnings, and then things would go up, and there then were times where people would leave or more people would come in. And if you're the leader of the organization, it's so key for you to have that consistency that says, hey, no matter what, you can count on me to show up and I will
True.
be here. And that really sets the standard to be able to get through those highs and those lows. And again, tying back to your mission and vision, when you're in those lows, right, you have to have a vision of that mountain that you're trying to get to so that you are able to carry through to reach those highs again.
Very true. And Vikas agrees consistency is the key. And I agree about that as well, because what I feel is you just need to hit the hammer right in minds of people what you are wanting to share. You need to be a visionary before even starting a community. You need to make sure how will you serve the community, how will it be helpful, because it's more around the place where you need to be a giver. And I'm sure, Sadie, with your courses, with the knowledge that you're imparting, it is helping a lot of women out there. It is not only helping the women but also everyone out there in as a whole. So I think that makes you unique and that makes you outstanding. And I totally, when I said when I was reading your bio, I mentioned about those awards. Those are well deserved awards, so congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Okay, so obviously, Sadie, when we talk about obviously the courses that you've built in data science, I would love to know more about your thoughts on what, according to you, are the top skills of a data leader that you think.
Yeah, so from a data leadership perspective, really the top skill is to
Mhm.
have a deep understanding of the business and to make friends with other people in the business. So,
Right.
whatever your level of expertise in a data career is, that you know that if you work in a silo, you're not going to be able to see the results and activate the impact of what you're creating with data unless you partner with other people. And so, from a data leadership perspective, you really need
Wow.
to understand the strategic business objectives and then take your team as a data organization to match those and support those along every step of the way. So I think it starts with that, understanding of the business, being a great partner to stakeholders, and then you get into the technical side, right? So knowing,
Right.
having a deep understanding of data architecture, of data governance, understanding statistics and algorithms and how these are created. And then last but not least, the people management, right? So I like to tell people that, data is out there and everywhere, but we don't activate value from the data unless it's by people, right? People are the ones who are creating the models, who are creating the
True.
pipelines, who are creating the systems. And so, really knowing how to see people's skills, to develop those skills. So, understanding where education is going and the best ways for people to learn, and then building those pathways for people to succeed is essential.
Very true. And that is a super helpful answer. Thanks for that, Sadie. It does make a lot of sense. And George is happy because data governance is mentioned, and he talks a lot around data governance. If you want to learn, like, if folks around who are watching this show, if you want to learn about data governance, go meet George. He is like the real advocate for data governance. So, yes. Thanks, George. Okay. There's Mike Nash says, great answers. If you're passionate with vision, it will pull you through. I agree. And also, Petri has a question that is around your vision. So, what is your vision, Sadie?
Yeah, so I have a couple different visions. So I don't know if you're asking for women in data or for myself, right? So I can talk a little bit about both of them. So
Yeah.
I manage my personal life somewhat like a business. So I have, a 5-year personal plan for my life, a 10-year plan. I also have a board of advisors for myself. I have a
Wow.
vision statement for myself, right? So my personal vision statement is to create a more compassionate and connected world through technology. And so that really
Hmm.
helps me stay true to, like, how do I manage my time? What am
Right.
I tracking for my KPIs, etc. So that's from a personal side. From a women in data side, our vision is to really close the gender gap and allow
Yeah.
everyone who wants an opportunity in a data career to have access to it, right? So, again, if you don't want to be in it, that's fine. But if you do, we want to make sure that is as easy and streamless, and there is that opportunity and support that you can achieve your goals in your career journey, whatever step of the way that is.
Yeah, and I think that is super successful. I don't think like I've come across many people who have been a part of your program, and I know for a fact that they have benefited a lot in their career in by joining and understanding how things have worked for them, how they have actually upskilled them, and those programs are super helpful. So yeah, that also brings me to a very important topic, which is around mentorship. So I would love to know about what are your thoughts around mentorship, and is it essential for a successful data career?
Yes, it is very essential. So, just as I had shared before with the success of the class and with
Yeah.
women in data, it really all has come from other people stepping up and helping along the way. And, I
Right.
definitely would not be at where I'm at in my career without countless mentors and my continual the whole team, a board of advisors or mentors, to
Yeah.
be able to help me succeed. And I really look at mentorship as, being able to stand on the shoulders of giants, right? So you're able
True.
to stand on someone else's experience and take that learning, which just supercharges what you're doing. But really the beauty of mentorship, and especially in a data career, is, unlike taking a class or a technical class, you get that
Mhm.
personalized feedback in terms of, hey, where
True.
do I go next? What do you see as my weaknesses? What are the things that I need to work on? And so it allows us to take really a 365 approach to yourself as a whole individual, and have an outside perspective where we may have blind sides, because as we all know, we're a little bit biased, right? Have our own
True.
biases, and open it up so we don't run into that pitfall, right? So that we can find the ultimate path within our career, within our life. And so for me, mentorship is essential. If you don't have a mentor now, now is the time to go and get one, and you can have multiple mentors even if you don't have one at this time.
Exactly. And how would you, suggest someone in the data career to look out for a mentor? Like what, like who are the ideal mentors, or maybe it depends. If I come from say a place where I'm more into data analytics, so how would you suggest me to look out for mentors, just in general?
Yeah, so a couple key things. I would say, one, diversify your members, and two, find someone who's just a step or two steps above you, right? So if you're just looking to get into a data career, probably talking to a CDO, a chief data officer, is not your best step, right? You're
Mhm.
looking on, how do I get a job? What tools do I need to learn? And they
Okay.
may be able to help you with those things, but probably someone who's a practitioner in the field, who's just a data scientist in the field, if that's what you're looking to do, they're going to
Mhm.
be a great match for you, because they have more up-to-date experience on what were those things they needed to do to make that next step. So one of the mistakes I see is people reach out too many levels above where they are. And sometimes some of the best mentors can even be, colleagues who are just a couple steps ahead of us, right? So that's one way to look at it. The other thing is, don't look for mentors just within your industry, right? So if
True.
you are a practitioner in the field, or even a data leader, diversify your mentorship. This will help tremendously, because again, as I mentioned, being a data leader, you need to have friends in other sides of the business. Having people with a new and fresh perspective is again
True.
going to help highlight where you're biased, what skills can you pull in from outside industries, and that will really help you round up and shape, where you're looking to go for your career.
Truly, I agree. And also, this is a very important point, and I see a very important point made in the comments as well by Shruti Jain. She says, I think a mentor would be someone who you would like to be, or who is doing exactly what you want to do in the future. So it does make sense in terms of looking at the role models and thinking of having them as the mentors as well.
I think that's a fantastic comment. One of the key things there is the respect level that she's getting to, right? Which is someone that
True.
you respect. And I think one of the things I've found for finding mentors is finding people who share my values, right? So they could be from a different industry, but if we share the same values, right, then
Yeah.
we're going to have a strong connection to be able to achieve what we want to achieve.
Very true. And also in terms of, since we are, I'm shifting gears bit here, but since we are in 2022, and I've been waiting to ask you this question since the time we have decided to actually go on air, is about the trends in data science that you actually you see in 2022, or maybe you feel that these are the trends which will actually make the difference in this coming year in data science.
Yeah, great question. With it being the new year, I feel like we have to talk about what's coming up, right? And being data scientists, we must have our predictions out there.
So
Yeah, so a couple of things. I usually look at them from like micro trends to macro trends, right? So what are the things at a low level and then at a really high level that will be affecting us? I see a lot happening in the auto ML space in terms of, in a way, it's an interesting space to be in data science. We're automating parts of our own job, right? So I think it's really key to be aware of, the advancements of some of these tools from a software perspective. From a cultural and social impact, I'm seeing such a high rise of the deep fakes and, how these are used in negative ways. There's some interesting positive ways of deep fakes with restoring old videos and photos.
Sure.
But I think this will be an interesting area in terms of regulation and how do we combat what's being created in this space with the deep fakes. And then from the hardware trend, looking at scalable AI and the architecture that's needed to move from prototype to production. So for this, it really comes from a cloud first strategy,
Right.
standardizing and automating your workflow, performance monitoring, traceability. I think people are starting to go into the cloud first aspect of it, but really now, like once you automate that workflow, what are you doing to monitor those algorithms and trace the impact of them? So that's really from a micro trends perspective. From a macro trends, like large things that are affecting our industry as a whole, is really the remote economy, right? So as we all now move into a remote economy, this really changes hiring and perspectives. So now if you're working with people from different cities, soon you start working with people in different countries. So the
Exactly.
competition is greater, the skill options though are greater. So there's a big reshuffling on how we used to practice and look for skills. And then
Yeah.
the last two on the macro trends are really just blockchain and crypto's impact into data science.
Exactly.
I think this is a huge opportunity in terms of the data that's being created from these new technologies, and I'm excited to see what the future holds for there. And then just the education aspect, right? So there is so much opportunity in the education space for this, and I think this is going to really be a big push of like, how do we upskill and reskill more people in this industry to be able to fill these open positions?
Wow. So are you also planning to come up with any of these courses in blockchain
Yeah.
or NFTs?
Definitely, yes, definitely want to be teaching some more. I just finished, the machine learning course certificate for UC Davis.
Yeah.
So looking to create some more opportunities and pathways for people to take part in the education space, definitely.
Oh my, I can't even wait because I'll trust me. Maybe I'll be the first one to book if you start teaching in blockchain and NFTs because there's so much, and it's not just me. I'm sure even in the audience there might be folks who would want to learn more about NFTs, blockchain because it has already started taking over the market. It's not
Mhm.
like there's no monetary aspect already in there. It's not theoretical anymore. People have actually got into it. But that also brings me to another very important question, which is metaverse, and that has been talking a lot about. What are your thoughts? Like, do you think it will also have a huge impact in 2022, or it's still not that clear to you?
Yeah, so one comment I will say, in terms of some learning that people can take advantage of, in Q1, Women in Data will be launching a bunch of education on NFTs. So
Wow.
for people, they can sign up for a newsletter to make sure or stay connected there. So that'll be easy. We want to get more access to people into new and emerging technology. But yeah, in terms of the metaverse, so, I think one of the problems with the metaverse so far is it's not well defined, right? So
True.
Facebook came out this fall and shared their vision of the metaverse, and it was very VR focused. But the term metaverse has existed for a while. The Coinbase has a really great white paper of their vision of what the metaverse is. And so you're starting to see some, I don't want to say conflicting visions, but there's not one standard yet for what that means, right? There's obviously VR is a portion of it, but decentralization is a key factor in it. But how I like to refer to people is we're already somewhat living in the metaverse, right? I'm talking with you. We're both in different countries. We're talking in a virtual space, right? In a digital space. And
True.
what's happening is it just is meaning that our lives are going to become more ingrained into a digital world, right? Whether that's
Exactly.
through VR, whether that's how we play in more of a digital space, how we work, how we buy, how we sell, right? So think of like what you're doing today, right now, watching this, expanding to all aspects of your life.
True. It might just happen where we are sitting in Bay Area together and having this conversation, and we can buy a cup of coffee and have that. So yeah, and I like your comment, your statement there, where it says it's we're still in the metaverse. It's just the higher version of metaverse where things are going. So maybe after a year or two, if it gets much more clearer, it will make that difference. Makes sense. Awesome. What I've also done is, Sadie, I've shared your womanindata.org in the chat section. So, folks, you can actually subscribe to the newsletter. I have already subscribed. I get the newsletter. It's fantastic. You get to learn a lot. And it's obviously not just another newsletter because you get a lot of interesting information in there, which keeps you going. And feel free to reach out to Sadie as well, because I'm sure she does answer her emails she tries to answer it very quickly, as far as I know, because I remember reaching out to her like 2 or 3 years back for a podcast for one of my colleague, and she was quick enough. So I can assure you that she's very fast on emails. Okay. uh, Getting back to the questions in the chat, we have a few questions. Let's take Mike's question. It is said that there is roughly 15% of data scientists are women and 26% in data and analytics. What is your advice for encouraging more women in data driven world? Wow.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for the question, Mike. And I love that you know those stats so accurately off the bat. It's fantastic. Yeah, so there is a lot of things that can be done. So within women in data, we look at it through three pillars, which is awareness, education, and then advancement. So the first on the awareness side is just letting people know that this is a career opportunity that exists and that this is something you can transition to, right? So this is something that whether you've worked in food service industries or marketing, these are skills you can learn and transition. So it's a very open community, and spreading that awareness and spreading the awareness for the 50 jobs that exist within a data career, right? So there's been a really great graphic floating around Twitter and LinkedIn in terms of the family of data careers. It's not just data science. And I think
True.
sharing more awareness to the nuances and the opportunity in this space is really key. The other area is really supporting those within your organization or those around you. So being a mentor is a great way, sharing groups and resources with them, and then being an ally and a sponsor. So speaking up for those who may feel like they don't have a voice and being somebody who stands alongside of them. Again, it just takes one person standing up and another person to come alongside them. And that's really what we need to encourage more people to come into this space.
Very true. I think it is like the golden advice that has come. So thanks for that. I'm sure Mike is super happy with the answer. And I'm looking at the comments right now. Mohammed says, when you were talking about mentorships, he says mentors, same values, plus strong connections. Very true.
I love that. I love things
Right.
when they're put like in a little equation too. Equals
Equation.
thumbs up. Yes.
Makes it easier for everyone to understand how things are. So
Yes.
yes. Okay. And also Petri says, reference to metaverse, I prefer your real faces instead of avatars. So
That's
thanks
fantastic. Yeah,
Petri.
I will say I did try and create an avatar. So I got an Oculus
Wow.
and I love to play some VR, but I tried to create, my avatar, and just didn't quite turn out exactly like I was hoping to. So still need a little bit more practice on how to create a more realistic avatar.
Wow, we can't see it on the social media once it's ready,
Yeah,
Sadie.
I'll share it.
Okay, moving on. Since you were talking about the trends, that also brings me to a very important question, which is what role does education play as we work to make advancements in analytics and AI at organizations? Because education, definitely, like you mentioned, it is a very important part, but what role does it play? Would love to know more about the advancements in analytics and AI at organizations.
Yeah, so this really comes to tech organizations being able to adapt new technology. So the
Right.
World Economic Forum has a report, it's the jobs report, and it's from 2020. And they found that 54% of organizations are not
Mm-hmm.
adapting new technology because they don't feel like their people have the skill for it if they do, or that the job market and who they're looking to hire, they'll be able to find those people with the skills. So when we don't embrace education at every level, right? I think we've kind of come to finally understand that education does not stop at a bachelor's or a master's. This is a lifelong learning approach that we must take as people working in technology. If
True.
we don't embrace that at an organization level, we're limiting our ability to adapt new and emerging technologies. And that then because of that, allows us to not stay current with the latest trends, but also to optimize those customer experiences and those business outcomes that we're looking for. So
Hmm.
to me, education is one of those first key points that everything else kind of trickles and ripples from if we don't take care of it and have a laser focus on it within our organization.
Very true. And if I have to ask a follow up question here in terms of, how will technology change the way we work as data professionals as well? What do you think about that?
Yeah, so one of the big reasons that I got an Oculus and have been playing with VR is because I really wanted to see what this space would do for the way we work. And so,
True.
they have workspaces on there. I think it's going to be a year or so before people really start having working meetings there.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it really is the next steps in terms of how we're able to collaborate. So, playing with some of the painting features, I'm already just seeing like what happens when data comes to life, right? So now we're looking at
Yeah.
it in a 2D version within a dashboard. But what happens when you can walk around with the data and feel the data and touch it and move it and slice it? It's really going to change the opportunity of what we're able to do with it. And so as we see this new technology emerge, just as the way we've all changed how we work in terms of moving to remote work in the last two
True.
years, that evolution isn't going to stop, right? Now we're going to, as we talked about before, we're probably going to get more and more ingrained into this digital world, which the
True.
metaverse is, and that's going to affect every area of our lives, but especially as data professionals in terms of how we're designing workflows, how we're collaborating with people, and how we're sharing that connection.
Yeah, that is, I think, super important. And you've just hit the nail very right in terms of, putting it together. So thanks for that, Sadie. Also, we have a very interesting question in there from Josimar. Okay, let's take this question. Career on data science is really a journey, and nowadays there's a lot of content about the issue. If you could name the first three steps for someone trying to dive in this journey, what those would be? Interesting.
Yeah, that's a good question there. It's a very different time. So when I started, there wasn't as much information out there. And right now you can definitely feel a little information overload in this space. So I like to first have a really clear picture of what my end goal is and where I want to go. Right. So I always start with the end in mind and then work backwards. So let's say you want to be a data scientist. And if that is your end goal, then what I do is map out kind of where am I today, right? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? And a lot of people look at this just from a technical side of things, but you may have really good business domain expertise, and that is a strength that you should carry into your data science career. As I mentioned before, in data science, you can apply it to anything. So why not apply it to that business domain knowledge you already have, or that technical knowledge you already have? But in terms of like technical learning, then for that roadmap,
Mm-hmm.
I really look at it in terms of kind of a tech stack, right? So if you go into a tech stack, you're looking at like, how do we store the data, right? So to be able to understand and store and read and write the data, you need to know SQL. In addition to that, you probably want to learn some cloud computing architecture, whether that be AWS, GCP, Azure, right? So that fills in your base layer of the data storage. Then from there, you have your analysis of the data. And I usually tell people to pick a language. I recommend Python, but you can pick Python or R, whatever, and focus on that and master one language for that analysis. And then after you do that, you go up one more layer, which is how do I visualize and communicate these results, right? And for that, again, if you're starting out, I tell people pick one tool. I don't care what it is. It can be Tableau, Power BI, Click, whatever, but master that tool and master really the practice of like, how do I communicate in a meaningful way? And I think if you take those 3 steps from a technical side, you'll be on your way to success.
Okay, these are golden tips. Thanks for that question, Josimir, and amazing explanation, Sadie. Thanks for that. We have more folks joining us. We have Scott Taylor, the data whisperer here. Hey, Scott, thanks for joining. Kate is here. Kate is happy to see you on the Ravit Show. Thanks,
Oh,
Kate.
always good to see both of them. I know Kate
Yes.
came on our podcast, and Scott came and spoke at one of our Women in Data events. So always good to see friends.
Oh, Kate is on a roll. I'm sure. I know for a fact she's coming up with another dedicated conference, which is happening in a few months. So can't wait to see another good event from her side. She's like the real community builder. If you guys want to actually learn more about the dedicated circle, go join her dedicated inner circle, which is amazing. She talks a lot around the education materials and so much like goals. If you talk about goals as well, there's so much that Kate does. So thanks, Kate, for always keeping us up to the mark. Okay, so Sadie, I know there are a flood of questions coming in, but want to take these questions that I thought, obviously are more around your plans. So would love to know what are you planning for 2022, like in women in data science, like in women in data, or how do you see, how do you plan to put courses or say mentorships? How are those things happening? Would want to learn more about them.
Yeah, so we'll keep with running all of our core programs. So in our core programs, we have a mentorship program. And one of the
Mm-hmm.
reasons why I love to talk about mentorship.
Yeah.
So that will continue. It runs every quarter, and we're taking applications now. We also have study groups. So we work with Data Camp and do assessments and then learning pathways and work in learning as a community. So those will continue. And then in addition, we also have life coaching and a residency program. So the residency program allows people to get hands-on experience working on a project and working as a team with a coach and a mentor. So all of our core programs from that side will continue, along with, our usual events and networking from that side. But we're launching a couple new things that I'm really excited to share. Again, we're having some workshops and some trainings around NFTs, and we'll be launching a NFT collection in terms of supporting more diversity and providing more access pathways to diverse audiences into this space. And then in addition, we'll be doing we'll also be having a datathon later in May. So the datathon is a continuation of a study we've been doing of the new normal, of what the new normal looks like for women working in this space. We started this in terms of doing a survey and focus groups and taking that data, and that will now roll up into a datathon where we'll be analyzing how do diverse audiences succeed in this space. So lots of things coming out. That's just some of the tip of the iceberg, but yeah, really looking forward to what we have planned for this next year.
Wow, and I'm super excited. I've shared the link with the folks. You guys can have a look at it, and definitely, uh, I have, like mentioned about the newsletter. It is fantastic. Go sign up for the newsletter. You learn a lot, and about the programs as well. You'll get everything in there. And looks like Mike Nash has already subscribed to the newsletter, so which is fantastic. Great, Mike.
Awesome.
Okay, so also, in terms of like about, I know for a fact you host a podcast. So what do you enjoy more? Is it about hosting shows on your podcast, writing courses, or training people? I know it's a very tough question, but still would want to know more about that.
Oh, it's such a tough question. And I think this goes back to my previous statement of why I have a personal mission statement for myself, because I
Yeah.
have a ton of things I enjoy. And, like most of us, we can get a little ADD and all the things we want to do. So, how do you narrow it down? Um, yeah, for me, I don't think I can pick one
Hmm.
between what I enjoy the most. It's the variety and the diversity of the things. There's so many new things to learn from podcasting and asking guests questions. I've really enjoyed that experience of like, how do you really ask engaging questions? And so for me, like, I love that aspect because I get to learn from guests and I get
Exactly.
to, have learn better communication myself. And then from the education, I get to learn from my students. They are so amazing in terms of the questions they ask. And for me, teaching is just such a great way to give back and pay it forward and see the future generations of like what ideas they're coming up with, which is a very rewarding experience. And then
Right.
last but not least, I'd probably say the women in data is probably my favorite, though. This community inspires me so much in terms of how they support one another, how they're helping each other on every step of their career journey. And each day I just feel very humbled and honored to be a part of the organization and lead the organization. And so if I have to pick one, I would probably say women in data.
Wow, and that is amazing, and I thought so. So also that, we've spoken a lot around uh, data science, but I wanted to touch this, like I promised to everyone, obviously, that we'll be talking about diversity, and would want to learn more about what are the benefits of diverse teams, and why do many companies struggle with diversity? Like, what do you think about it?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple factors in where the struggles start, but
Yeah.
the benefits of diverse teams is really in terms of being able to see those blind spots. So again, as I mentioned
Hmm.
before, we all have our own biases and we're all coming in with different experiences. And when we don't
Right.
diversify those experiences, it's easy to run into a hole along our journey, right? Because we didn't ever have the experience
Exactly.
where we saw it. And so having diverse teams allows us to operate a lot faster, to not make mistakes. It allows
True.
for new innovative ideas, and it allows for better solutions for our customers as well. So there's a ton of benefits. I mean, we know that diverse teams that have more equal representation have
Hmm.
better performance year over year, right? So even from a financial perspective, right, there's a benefit there. But I think why we struggle with it so much is really in terms of understanding, a what does it look like? What does an environment look like where all can succeed, right? So I like to
Very
use
true.
an example of gardening. This was a COVID hobby that I started, right? And what I found was, there were certain there were certain plants that I would have that would do better than others, right? And
Hmm.
my job as that caretaker and curator of my garden was to find a way for all the things that I had planted to be able to grow. And I think, a lot of times we look at this from a numbers perspective, and, that's important as a key metric, but more so in really looking at is like, are we creating environments that everyone can take the career opportunity they want to and succeed in the life that they want to have?
Wow. I think you've like summed it up so well. I can't even have a follow-up question to this. Sadie, thanks for that information. Also, that brings me to another important question, which is around what does success look like in DNA?
Yeah, so again, it really goes back to where all individuals can succeed and thrive. And what I think
Hmm.
that looks like is in terms of, some of the metrics in terms of representation, right? Like if we are seeing low representation in gender and ethnicity and
Right.
disability, right? We need to dive into that further and say, why is that happening, right? Again, especially being data scientists, right? If a number is low, we need to look and see, okay, this is a signal that something is off here, right? Like
Right.
what is happening that is allowing, you know, different audiences to not be able to thrive in this area. So I really look at it as just diversity and inclusion, and being successful there is where all individuals can succeed and thrive.
Right. And that is amazing. Thanks for that answer. Mike says, so true. It's a diverse world. Addressing diversity can bring bigger opportunities for all in the longer term game. I agree.
Mike has a lot of great comments. Thank you, Mike. I love that
I
one.
know for a fact Mike is always so active in the data community. He has such amazing insights in the AI world as well. So thanks for always sharing amazing insights, Mike. Okay, since we had a competition in here as well, which we had like a raffle for our sponsor, and let's do this for the folks who have joined us late. We are giving away one annual subscription of 365 data science, so you guys can actually quickly type in hashtag 365 data science in the comment section, and in just one after one question I'll be going up for the raffle. So this was fantastic, Sadie. Thanks for all the information, and thanks for uh, the amazing insights that you have shared and everything that you do for the women in data. You have actually, your journey has been super inspirational. Actually, I have two questions for you. One is for the audience that I want to ask is around the educational places. So according to you, which are the educational places you would recommend someone who wants to start their data science journey? Because I've been often asked about it, and I think you are the right person people should come and ask about it. So please tell us more about it.
Yeah, so there's obviously a lot of fantastic platforms out
Yeah.
there and educational institutions, but since there is so much information, I actually recommend people go to communities first, right? So communities like this community on the Ravit Show, the dedicated community, women in data. Starting with the community then will help you get insight from others who are on the same journey as you. And there's usually opportunities within those communities to learn. So I really recommend starting with the community. There's a plethora of information you can find on Coursera's and Udemy's and
True.
data camps and you name it. But if you need help narrowing it down, start with the community because that's going to be your best way to get feedback.
Fantastic. Thanks for those. Communities and the educational people can actually go out and learn more about it. The only place I can add is 365 data science. So guys, you can always you can always go and visit 365 data science. These guys are creating amazing courses and always very kind to give away one annual subscription on the Ravit Show. So here we go. This is very fancy, maybe or may not. Have you seen the giveaway tool already, Sadie? Have you seen this before?
No, I don't think so. I'm excited.
Okay, let's do the draw. It's like the drum roll.
Oh, I love it.
Fantastic. Let's see who the winner is. And the winner is Madhu Grover. Congratulations.
Yay!
Amazing.
Congratulations.
You win a one annual subscription of 365 Data Science. Feel free to reach out to me. I'll reach out to you as well. So yeah, that's more or less. Also, one question for the audience, Sadie, that is, if folks want to reach out to you, they want to learn more about the courses that you are creating, more about the mentorship program, more about women in data. How can they participate, how can they be a part of the chapter that you create every time, uh, which is the best place to reach out to you, which is the best place to participate in the community? Can you tell us more?
Yeah, so I'm fairly active on LinkedIn and Twitter,
Sim-
just at Sadie St. Lawrence. And then for women in data, the best place is either on LinkedIn or on the website, just womenindata.org, and you can go to the membership tab and sign up. So
Awesome. And definitely, as this is like the third time I'm recommending, go and subscribe to the newsletter because it is very much valuable. Take my word, you'll thank me later. So, but yes, thank you very much, Sadie. It was pleasure talking to you. I can't wait for like 2.0 version, maybe when there are more developments in women in data, in technology, and your personal developments too. We will always be happy to discuss about your journey further as well.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I just want to give a big shout out to the community that you've built. I
Sure.
mean, probably some of the best questions. It's really fantastic. So thanks so much for also creating this community and leading the conversation.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for joining us today. I hope you guys enjoyed. And this was our first 22 session, which started with a blast. So thank you again, Sadie. See you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.